Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Brittany, and we're going to jump into past lives. So, first, I want to talk about what a past life is. So, because time doesn't exist the way that we calculate it, as far as it being a linear experience in the rest of the cosmos, right? We actually could probably call them parallel lives it's a probably better way to term them. So we have all these parallel lives, and the same thing with any kind of future life. They're all happening simultaneously. So we have access to all of these because as our soul incarnates into different timelines, experiences, and different planets, those things, you have essentially connection to all of these lives, right? What we can do with those, right? Because it's like, okay, well, we have all these lives, right? But what's the point of knowing about them? The point of knowing about them is because we can actually tap into them energetically, because our soul is our gateway to those other lives. And so when we're on our healing journey, when we are working through our own personal traumas from this life, right? Because I'd like to explain something that you may not have learned a specific lesson in a past life or in a different life that you still want to learn and you really want to grasp. So you can repeat the same lesson, but the trauma does not come with you. You are not healing the same, your body is not traumatized from that past life in this life, okay? So that's, you come in every time. Your soul may come in with imprints of specific ideas of what it wants to experience or specific things that do come about, but there's none of that where your like body is transferring over the trauma. Then you have to heal trauma from a life you don't remember. No, none of that. What you can do in this life, though, is if, say, you are experiencing a similar trauma to what happened in a different life, right? You can tap into that other timeline, that other parallel life, and you can access the wisdom that existed from before when you experienced it, right? So whatever you did learn, whatever information you gained and wisdom you gained from that specific experience, you can go tap into it through like a past life regression or something to that effect, right? And you can bring that wisdom here. And this all happens on an energetic level, right? So what we do then is we can use that information to help us move forward with this life, right? It's not quite so much like a punishment that a lot of people talk about, that, you know, you didn't do it right in this life, so you have to bring it to this one to fix it. And because timelines are different outside of how our world works here, you can tap into different time frames from those lives, right? Whether they're their past or future. And as you do this, you become energetically connected to the wisdom from those lives, and you just kind of download it, and it kind of adjusts your blueprint, and then you can heal from that. And it gives you a starting point. A lot of the work you're going to do from your soul, as far as the work you're doing in this life, needs to come from this life, right? You're going to further yourself in this life, but you can still access the previous or parallel lives, however you want to call that. So my next point is that what happens when you die then, right? Because it gets a little confusing at that point. So when you pass away and you leave this physical vessel, you reattach to the oversoul, right? That's the big part of you. And then you have all these little tiny pieces that come out that are actually part of your incarnations, and in all of your lives, right? Parallel. And so when you pass away, you begin to reconcile and understand what it is that you missed in this life, right? So this life, there's always going to be a time where you as a soul reflect on what happened in this life and how you treated people, how you treated yourself, how other people treated you. The whole thing, it's like a giant review, and that is, yeah. So the soul at that point chooses how to proceed, whether it wants to reincarnate or if it wants to choose to do a different to have a different path, to say become a guide or a guardian angel for their family members and help them that way. That actually does happen quite a bit, and you can actually reconcile your karma through the through you assisting through guidance of your ancestors or your lineage and your family of those who are still alive, right? And a lot of times these contracts are all put together, and it's not really a contract, it's more of like if both parties agree, because as an individual here on earth, you have free will. You can choose to not honor that contract with that person who passed away, right? So if that person wants to come back and help you as an individual and like give you guidance and support and all of those things and help you kind of move through your stuff, right? No obligation on your end. You do not have to take the help that is given. In fact, all soul contracts are more like agreements, and they can be honored or not. It is up to the physical individuals, and they are allowed to choose if they uphold contracts or not. There is no, you can't, there's no obligation, because that completely contradicts the idea of free will on as a human on earth. Any contract you have is actually more just a contract with your soul, and you can choose whether or not to listen to your soul. So really all contracts are just options. They are ideas, different ways you could go about living your life. You can choose to go with your soul, or you can choose to live completely outside of that. And different lives, like your other parallel lives, whether they're, to us, future or past, they may have different rules depending on where you incarnate. So really, I'm speaking to this being you as a human on this earth. And our lives are relative to the place and the lessons and the information and the blueprints that come through on whatever lives specific location, all of those things. It's very situational. And so it's not like a generic thing that we can just like slap a one term to. That's why the word contract doesn't work, because it's not really a contract. And you also don't have contracts with other people on this planet. You engage in specific things by the choices that you make. It is not set in stone, and there is no specific obligation. Yes, you can engage in them if you choose to, but it is always a choice. So anyway, that's kind of all the info I have on past lives. And thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys have a beautiful week.